Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio is the co-host. You know him. He's the statistician of the stars. He's the man of 1,008 aliases. His name is Padawan J.
Oh, let me talk to you.
And boy, we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more. You are tuned in to the entertainment edition of the ODPH. And we definitely like keeping those conversations going after the show. So, Pad, where does everybody go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
From the social media links, the TeePublic store, to the blogs, to the classified section, which has friends of the show, such as 3FM Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative, and many more. The directory. Pad, how many providers are we on?
We are on 476,857.
And your source?
Trust me, bro.
So wherever you listen to the ODPH on, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. It means the absolute world to us. Drop a review on your favorite podcatcher. It definitely helps the algorithm of the show. Last but certainly not least, we have a fantastic music section where you can hear such musicians as Brian Wolf and the Howlers, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Floodlands, and Shout Out the Robots. All the music you hear on the ODPH and 607 Podcast Family Network, you can download and have it on your players and rock out in between shows as well. And if it's anything else that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. And always remember on social media, if you're using hashtags still, why not use the hashtag ODPHpod? Kicking off this edition of the show, we have to recap an episode that, if you're a video game fan, you knew it was coming.
At some point.
And obviously, the transition from small screen to TV screen has been amazing for the show. But this moment in particular for this franchise is one that had fans waiting to see, could they pull it off? How are they going to pull it off? What was going to go on with this?
Mm-hmm.
And we are saying now in season 2, the second episode, they definitely swung for the fences with this one. Pad, what are we recapping this week?
Season 2, episode 2 of The Last of Us.
Yes, the Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey post-apocalyptic nightmare scenario of two survivors trying to survive a fungus-esque outbreak, which is infecting the society and turning people into zombie-esque creatures, has won over fans on the video game side of things via Naughty Dog. But now coming to the HBO networks, season 1 was an absolute smash. Season 2 just debuted after a very long hiatus. It has fans talking for all the right reasons. And this episode in particular has got pop culture's attention. So all that said, if you're new to the ODPH, what we'd like to do is give you a spoiler-free statement on what we're talking about. Then we give you a countdown. At that moment, we have to say, do you stay or do you go, like The Clash? If you want to stay, you're going to hear deep dives. You're going to hear spoilers. You're going to hear theories. You're going to hear a lot. But if you haven't seen the episode yet and don't want anything ruined, fully understand that. That's why we say download the episode, pause it at this moment, go watch it, and come back in at this moment in time, and then you'll hear and be able to understand the conversation without having anything ruined for you. So that all said, Pad, give me your spoiler-free statement on episode 2 of season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us, entitled Through the Valley.
So I got to gripe a little bit, and it's not about the episode. It's about fans of the episode, because as listeners of this show will know, or listeners of the sports edition will know, we were occupied on Sunday night when this episode first started airing at 9 o'clock on HBO and went live on Max. For those who don't know, we and only listen to the entertainment show, we were watching WrestleMania together with some friends of the show and some friends of ours.
Yeah.
Show started at 8 o'clock. The show started main card started at 7 o'clock. Did not get done until 10:30, 10:45, somewhere in there. So by the time WrestleMania was over, The Last of Us had aired and finished. I had read and seen, now this wasn't, I clicked on something, I went into the comments, I went into an article through a link. I saw the outcome of this episode spoiled full blown before the episode had even finished. Out in the open, out in the wild, was out there. And to anyone who spoiled this, now, I will say, I knew it was coming. I knew this. I haven't played the game, but I've seen gameplay of it. I've watched a couple playthroughs just because it didn't necessarily seem like my cup of tea for a game. And I didn't want to force myself to sit through and play through something I wasn't going to enjoy, but it did seem like the story was good. And the story's amazing. So I was aware this was going to happen. But to have that moment kind of taken away from you, like, like when you and I were watching Walking Dead, and we knew they were coming up to the Glenn Negan moment, to finally have that, like, we're here, like that level of excitement ripped out of my hands, I was a little pissed off. So to anyone who went and started spoiling what had happened before the episode had even finished, shame on you. I would use some more colorful language, but I'm sure there are probably kids listening to this in the car riding with their parents. So if you were one of these people who spoiled the ending of this in any way, shape, or form immediately before the episode even finished or right after the episode finished, shame on you. Try to at least. I realize in this day of clicks and likes and the dopamine hit you get from upvotes on Reddit and the number of likes you get on whatever, platform you're using feels real good, but consider for one moment, especially since here in the States, it was Easter and a lot of us were busy with families and you had WrestleMania going on at the same time. Not everybody can watch this at the drop of a hat like some folks can. So in future, just take the common courtesy. If you can't wait a day, wait a couple hours before you start going stir crazy and posting full spoilers, please. Because like I said, I knew this was coming. I knew we would be seeing it at some point. But to see it full blown in the open was disappointing for me.
Well, you hit a couple points on the head though, Pat. We live in a day and age where pop culture places and people are very impatient.
Yep.
For various reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And they do not consider others when they post because they're worried about getting clicks.
They want to be first.
It's a weird thing that we still live in this day and age with the internet, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
The best piece of advice is don't go on social media after when stuff is happening if we haven't seen it, which I'm not blaming you for because we were doing live tweeting and such for WrestleMania, which we cover a wide variety of parlay of topics here on the ODPH. It comes with the turf. I have always preached, and one thing that we've always done here on the show in the 8 years that we've been in business is we always put out the social media embargo. We don't post anything online until 72 hours after. Then we go deep diving because then we've given you fair warning since something has happened. So it's not on our conscience to do it.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I can say is if you carry that same anger that Pat has, then don't support the places and people that are doing it. Don't watch them. Don't follow them. Don't do anything with them. That's the easiest way to hit them.
Yeah.
Don't give them the attention. Let them talk into the void. It's the easiest thing in the world. I understand why the fans reacted they were, and I understand why people had anger about it. It's one of these moments that it's the catalyst event for a franchise.
It's this franchise's Red Wedding.
Yeah. I mean,
the fans of the Game of Thrones novels knew the Red Wedding was coming, and when that moment happened, it broke social media. It went nuts. It was one of the first viral moments I can think of that wasn't sports related.
Yeah.
Where a whole bunch of people simultaneously were all freaking out about the same thing. I don't remember many Walking Dead moments having that. I know there are some seminal moments fans think of when it comes to Walking Dead over the course of their history.
Well, you have to remember, though, it was shows in pop culture. I mean, it all depends on what is the biggest show on TV.
Sure.
Game of Thrones was for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
When they did Red Wedding, people had reactions because they weren't ready for what happened. Same thing can be said for Walking Dead and the Glenn and Negan event.
Yeah.
Which we all knew was coming.
If you read the comics, you knew it was coming.
Exactly. So if you played The Last of Us, you knew this moment was coming.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of how they're going to pull it off.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a superb job with it.
Yeah.
It's not one for the squeamish. It's not one for the faint of heart. But then again, this whole series is not for you.
No.
If that falls under the category.
No.
And I think that we as pop culture fans get kind of wound up in events, and when the shock and awe, we feel like venting on social media because we think that that's a great thing to do. And it's like you don't realize other people are seeing your stuff and they don't want to see it.
Yeah.
It's a fine line to walk. I mean, we do this as content creators.
Yeah.
But for the average fan, I mean, they have zero what's given.
That's why if I tend to follow your social media rule too. I try not to post a spoiler. I try not to say anything. What I will occasionally do, and it's not often, is I will sometimes hit the end of a show, and it's not every show, but if it's something monumental, something crazy, something shocking, something I can't believe happened, I will sometimes post a GIF.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure.
And if you can discern what the hell I'm talking about out of a GIF, tell me the winning lottery tickets because I'd love to know them. Would love the money. But I will avoid saying, "Oh my God," just to use an example. "Oh my God, I can't believe Luke Skywalker showed up in The Mandalorian." I won't do that day of.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to your original question though, about the episode, I thought the episode was good. It was kind of like a weird tale of two halves, just because the first half was so chaotic, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I'm crapping on it. It was just from the moment the episode started, gas pedal to the floor, let's go nuts. It felt like a season finale, or even like HBO tends to do, a penultimate episode or their second to last episode, where it's just the absolute most insane episode of the entire season. And it's just, you can't believe what's happening. There's destruction everywhere. There's insanity. There's this, there's that. And I was sitting there going, wow, I was having a little bit of a hard time. Like, okay, let me just get my footing and figure out what's going on where and keep this all straight. Once you got kind of past that halfway point, though, the episode was tremendous and was some of the best television I've seen this century, I would say.
I mean, you could definitely make that argument.
Yeah.
I would not fault you on that. And I think it goes to the testament of the commitment from the writing team and the actors about portraying the saga of Joel and Ellie in the manner they do. And I think that when we go to this show, we have to remember there's only how many video games of this franchise? Two. So
been re-released 1,000 times, but two.
Right. But there's only so much of a window of time you can run with this.
Yep.
So I understand how this does feel like the penultimate episode. It should.
Yeah.
Because of what happens.
Right. We should say we do know they're doing a third season.
Correct.
So it does appear that the story for the second game won't be concluded in this season. And I wouldn't be surprised with the game's creators being involved with this franchise that some ideas they've had that either didn't make it into the games or would have come after The Last of Us 2 might be included either this season or next season. I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying there is that possibility.
Oh, there's a very strong possibility about it. There's no question about that.
That's one of the benefits when you have the franchise's creators involved.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, they're going to be very hands-on with this, and rightfully so. So, like I say, I'm not super shocked at that. I think, though, when you have a moment like this, it shuts down pop culture because for a lot of fans that have never played the video game, this is a moment that stands out, and this changes everything on the show. And how they did it, I thought was superb. And that's really the takeaway from I can say about it. Like, this is one of the best episodes we've seen on TV this year.
Yeah.
In general. And I think of how brutal it was. They stayed very true to the story, and I'm always a very big proponent for that. I think the story speaks for itself. And the fact we already got here, it makes a lot of sense, and especially with who it involves. Mm-hmm. And we'll leave it at that because we have to get into spoiler talk if we're going to talk anything more about this.
Yeah.
So that said, in 3, 2, 1, Joel is gone.
Yeah. Thought the episode was good. Kind of a tale of two halves. The first half was kind of insanity and felt out of place in a way, just because we just got started. Time has passed. Mm-hmm. It's been 5 years since the end of last season, and with the whole buildup, I didn't think they were going to drag it out too long, but I didn't expect them to kill Joel off, in the second episode. I figured there'd be at least a little bit of buildup, maybe a little exposition on Abby, and her group, a little bit of going on between Joel and Ellie and everybody in their camp. And then we'd get to it like maybe the halfway point, Like I said, I didn't expect them to drag it out because this season's going to be 7 episodes. I didn't expect them to drag it out, because I'm looking at who's directing and writing. Neil Druckmann, who is the creator of Last of Us, is writing and directing episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking at this, I'm figuring, all right, well, if they're going to do it, episode 6 is a possibility, that you got the guy involved with, but I wasn't sure if they would wait that long, but seeing them actually do it was one of those moments where I'm like, wow, I can't believe they actually did it the way they did it on TV. It was almost like when you and I were, again, going back to Walking Dead, when you and I were talking about the Glenn Negan moment, we were kind of wondering, all right, well, this is not on HBO. This isn't, behind a paywall per se.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to pull this off on live TV? And then you go read the comic, go watch the scene. It's a shot for shot recreation.
Yep.
In that instance. And so I've seen how it happens in the video game. I'm like, man, I don't know how they're going to pull this off. I get it's HBO, but are you really going to go full? They went full tilt, So the ending was gut wrenching. The ending was nuts. It's going to be interesting to see how they go from here because I feel like they're keeping everybody on their toes. Because I know some diehard fans of the video game were even surprised they did it now. They obviously they knew it was coming, but I think they were I've seen some reaction online that they were surprised it happened now. So we'll have to wait and see. But for the episode, it wasn't bad.
See, I was not surprised because there is an outlying factor that is playing a big role in the show.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal is busy with a million things.
Yeah, this is true. The man I saw a meme today with Thanos putting the last Infinity Stone on the gauntlet.
Yeah.
And it was Pedro Pascal being in all of the franchises, and it was all of the franchise. He's got a franchise for every Infinity Stone on that gauntlet.
Oh, yeah. So, there's only so much of a window of time he could be on. And we obviously, knowing the history of his character, we knew it was only a matter of time before he was unalived.
I also wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know when this was filmed and when it was he agreed to be Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four. I wouldn't be surprised if those kind of coincided.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he knew he was going to be busy with MCU stuff.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure because especially as that role is going to be so much time consuming, like he's not going to have time for anything else.
So I'm looking at his IMDb page, which IMDb take with a grain of salt because anybody can edit it, but still, he's got 8 credits listed under his upcoming tab on IMDb. So he's obviously got Mandalorian and Grogu coming up. He's got Avengers Secret Wars, which presumably he'll be in. Avengers Doomsday, Fantastic Four First Steps, which is in post-production or whatever, but he's also got the Materialists coming up, Eddington coming up, and then he's got The Last of Us listed there, but holy schmoly.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
Yeah, and that's the stuff we know about.
Right. So, obviously, if they're going to give him a fitting farewell, they really needed everybody else to step their game up. Bella Ramsey obviously brings it every time.
Yep.
Caitlin Dever, who is playing Abby, has really been the dynamic on the show that I think it needed, but we didn't know it needed.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, being the very vengeful soldier that wants revenge about what happened for her family, and obviously with what went down at the Fireflies and everything last season, she has been a force of nature herself. And where this episode jumps in, she has led a group on a mission to go kill Joel. So they have finally arrived in Jackson, Wyoming.
Which is the scene we saw at the end of the last episode.
Right.
They saw this. It was the middle of the night or early in the evening, whatever it was, and they saw the settlement from on high in the mountaintops.
Mm-hmm. So they're sitting there overseeing what is going on in Jackson, and Abby is hell-bent at high water, like, we've come this far, I'm killing Joel.
Yeah, because once they wake up in the morning, they just see how big the settlement is. They saw the lights, and they're like, okay, yeah, it's a call. They figured it was something like what they had previously experienced with some of their crew. That, it's just a settlement. It's got a couple lights. Nothing too crazy. And then they see they just go through like a tactical plan in a military movie where it's like, okay, they got the walls, they got this, they got that, and they're like, how the hell are we going to pull this off?
Mm-hmm. So there is hesitation because her friends know
it's almost a suicide mission.
Yeah, but she is like, I didn't come this far to come away empty-handed. I have a mission. I'm going to finish this.
Yep.
We're not going anywhere. So she takes off from the group,
and
as she's going through the very snowy area of Jackson...
Didn't think this all the way through.
No, she comes across a horde of infected people
Yeah.
that have all been buried underneath the snow.
Because historically, I say that like it's an actual thing. Traditionally, I should say, in zombie portrayals, no matter what it is, Walking Dead, this, whatever, they don't do well in the snow.
No.
Or in the winter months, they tend to slow down.
Yeah, winter has always been a different vibe for them. So it is interesting to see how they're adapting that to the fungus-infected, characters on the show.
Yep.
All the while, you're having Ellie is out on patrol with Jesse, played by young Mazzino, who has a connection to Ellie's new love interest, Dina, who's played by Isabella Merced. So they're recapping the events that happened at the bar, and obviously when the homophobic slur was said by the owner and Joel attacked, it does have some fallout between Ellie and Dina, who kissed at the party. And like I say, they're now developing their relationship. So there is now stuff happening amongst them that's causing a little friction amongst the camp. But in this moment, you kind of see that Jesse is playing off it very well, and has been almost like, I don't want to say a calming influence in this, but to see how everybody is reacting to living in this world, he's almost more adaptable in bringing what's left of humanity back. Like, I know it's a little early to say, but that's kind of where he is.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to see how they move on patrol. So Ellie is not with Joel during this whole mess.
No, because they've had their issues, and it sounds like, at least at this point, it's not going to be able to be repaired. It is what it is. They live and let live. But it almost does feel like part of her wants to get back to at least somewhat how they were, because when she goes and finally gets up to go out on patrol, she's like, "Oh, I want to go with Joel." She or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And she's told, "Well, Joel, it's like, I think they said it's like 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or something like that. Whatever it is, it's mid-morning, I would say." She's like, "Oh, I want to go with Joel." And they're like, "Well, you can't. Joel is already gone. He went out with Dina at like 7 or 7:30.
Yeah, so
She's like, and she's almost crestfallen and brokenhearted.
Well, she's very emotional at this stage because when Joel stood up for her yet again, Joel has been her protective guardian angel during this whole thing. So not having him by her side, and obviously the friction of the past 5 years, it is something that I was hoping we had a longer play out.
Yeah.
Instead of this just really summing up very quickly.
Sure.
That now she wants to get reunited with him, and it's not happening. So all this is going on while the horde is running a little crazy. So it's now chasing after Abby, who is very undermatched at what's going on. And she is saved by all people, Joel, who's out with Dina. So they wind up making a daring escape. The horde, though, shifts attention to Jackson. And then this is literally over the top, knockdown, drag out insanity happening because there is just a monstrous group trying to invade the walls of Jackson. And everybody in the town is ready to defend themselves. It felt like a video game.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, so I wasn't mad about this. Tommy, who's played by Gabriel Luna, is running around with an improvised flamethrower backpack.
And it's funny because at the start of this episode, when I think it's before Ellie goes out on patrol, or it's like the day prior, or whatever, it's somewhere around, it's early in the episode. She's getting told, and they're kind of going through the protocol of what happens if a horde shows up. And she's almost like, why do we need to know this? Why do we need to do this? Like, it's never going to happen. And they're like, we need to practice this on the chance it does happen, and that way we know what to do, and we're not running around scrambling.
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes later in the episode, what happens? Oh, good thing you practice.
So there is a lot of this insanity going on.
To say the least.
Yeah.
So for as prepared as they seem to be, they ain't so prepared.
Well, that's the whole thing. You don't know what to expect in this world because the virus is ever evolving, and so are the bloaters and the clickers.
I don't know what that one was called, but the
bloater.
Oh, was that the bloater who broke through the thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to call him like a juggernaut or something.
Yeah, no, it was monstrous.
Dude was like Braun Strowman in WWE. Holy smokes.
Yeah, so you're seeing them just run roughshod through the town, and it's a wild fight that happens between him and Tommy that leads up to, a near tease of Tommy getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
But during this whole escapade, you have Ellie is away from camp.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Joel, who ran with Abby and Dina back to Abby's base.
Yep.
And when they walk in, they realize that they've now come into a trap.
Right. Well, and they get to the hilltop. They see what's going on in the town, and I forget how they phrased it, but they wanted to go back, but they're like, I think they were out of supplies.
Oh yeah.
They were like, oh, we're out of supply. We're low on supplies. We'll be killed if we go back right now. But hey, this mansion is right here. It's got some supplies stored away for just such an emergency. And hey, this is an emergency. Mm-hmm. Let's go up there and resupply before we head back down.
Yeah. But while they're there, Dina gets knocked out.
Yep. She gets put under. She gets sedated.
Yeah,
with something.
Yeah, which I was like, this is a little suspect to begin with.
Oh, trust us. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Famous last words.
Source, trust me, bro.
Yeah, literally.
So, yeah, she gets taken out. So, yeah, she's off the board. And then Joel is being kind of held a little hostage. And during this time, Abby is laying out why she's here. Mm-hmm. And is now coming into full focus from the flashback sequence they opened up with.
Yeah.
That she is the daughter of the doctor.
Yep.
That was killed on Joel's rampage to free Ellie.
Yep. And I think at one point, one of Abby's group members tries almost talking her out of it. Like, we shouldn't do this. We should get more information out of him. And she's like, nah, screw that. We're doing this now.
Right. See, Abby at this stage is too far gone.
She is seeing red.
There is no way that she is hearing any kind of logic, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's not even happening.
No.
So anybody that's trying to talk to her it's one ear out the other. And they understand what's going to happen because they have seen this group. Now, granted, they have not really seen the horde running crazy through it.
Right.
But they know enough that, okay, well, obviously this person is a pretty important piece. There's going to be ramifications. Are we ready for it? Mm-hmm. Ellie is obviously a big piece of that, but Abby does not care. And Abby winds up shooting Joel in the leg and is sitting there and beating the sugar cookies out of his knee that she shot him in with the golf club.
And she shoots him in the leg and tells one of her crew members, tourniquet his leg. So basically, so it doesn't bleed out and we can drag this out.
Yeah. So this was very tough to watch.
Yeah.
Which that's what the writers wanted to do. So bravo to them.
Yep.
And with how Abby was doing this, I mean, Caitlin Dever really turned this up to another gear. Mm-hmm. And you really saw somebody that just had revenge on her mind and just would not listen to any kind of logic behind it. When you see Ellie wind up breaking in to the mansion, knowing something's wrong, because she stumbles upon it looking for Joel, she hears the screams of him as his knee is getting absolutely shattered.
Well, and he's just getting his face pounded in.
Yeah, at this point, now his face is getting smashed. Then she comes flying in there. The group is holding her down.
Well, she tries getting a shot off, but it's too little too late. She should have shot first, ask later.
Yeah. Well, it's just, at this point, I don't think anybody realized there was other groups lurking. So I could understand for a certain degree. But she winds up getting held down, and she is watching as Abby is killing Joel.
Yep.
To the final blow where the golf club she's been smacking him so much with.
It broke.
She stabs him right in the neck.
Yep.
And Ellie is just sitting there just losing her mind, rightfully so. Bella Ramsey just absolutely crushed the scene. And then as it, because the sound goes out a little bit because you just kind of see that emotion just drain out. When it comes back, Ellie is like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And Abby is brushing it off. And one of her crew breaks her ribs, I think.
Kicks her in the ribs, yes.
Yeah.
Because she tries getting up and fighting back, but the one basically like an NFL kicker goes up and kicks her in the ribs. And you hear the crack, and that's when she kind of passes out.
Yeah. So once everything kind of stabilizes, because the people of Jackson take out the horde, but albeit though there's casualties everywhere. This was not like
for as planned out as they were, they lost a few people.
Yeah, I would say at least half the population. I will make that argument right now.
Yeah.
So they're still recovering. Ellie, Dina, and Jesse come back with Joel's body. Mm-hmm. And this is where the episode wraps up for now.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful piece. I mean, that's the easiest way you could describe it.
Yeah.
This is a pivotal moment in the game.
Yeah.
And this changes everything moving forward. So, Pat, I mean, was there anything on this that you were not expecting?
Well, I wasn't expecting Joel's death to happen at this point. Like I said, in no universe what I've expected it in episode 2. And I wasn't necessarily expecting, the attack on Jackson to take place at this point, just because, again, we just got started. That's something, typically you save for like a midpoint or like a season finale. But the fact that they decided to go that way was great, because I think going forward for the entire season, it really keeps us on our toes. That whatever you think might happen next isn't necessarily what's going to happen next. I do want to give a shout out, though, to Caitlin Dever, who plays Abby in this episode, because I can't remember if I read it on an article or they mentioned it in the after the episode thing. But when they were going to do the close-up shots for Abby in this episode, this was right after I believe it was her mother had died.
Oh, wow.
And so you could really see her channeling some emotion into this episode, and it came across the screen in viewing this episode. You could just tell the rage and the hurt and the pain was getting channeled, and it was just a masterful performance that if she gets an Emmy nomination out of this season,
I was just going to say she probably should.
I would be more than okay with it, because it was an incredible performance.
Yeah, no, this episode I think is worthy of that nomination alone. And in all honesty, I think Dever has really channeled something here. And now knowing that backstory, I mean, just the performance on there just is, it has more context now, and especially just dealing with all that too, and producing that's amazing. It goes to show, what kind of actress she is.
Yeah, so she did an interview. I found it. She did an interview with Entertainment Weekly, and the quote was upfront about the process of shooting this anticipated and controversial scene with Joel actor Pedro Pascal for The Last of Us Season 2. Quote, "To be as honest as possible, I will just say that my days leading up to this scene were horrible." Close quote. Dever's mother died from breast cancer roughly 14 years after being diagnosed.
Oh, Jesus.
The actress shared an Instagram post in February 2024 to remember her mom. Quote, "I lost my mom 2 or 3 weeks before I actually shot this scene, and my mom's funeral was 3 days before I did my first day.
Man.
So I was sort of in a fog. I was in a daze," close quote. Showrunner and writer Craig Mazin was impressed with the way Dever handled the filming of The Last of Us Season 2. Mazin added that giving Dever all the time you needed was important as well. Quote, "While I care extraordinarily about the show, it's a TV show,"
right.
Mazin said. "I'm not going to disrupt someone's grieving process for their own parent, especially with a show that's partly about the grieving process," close quote.
Wow.
So, yeah, she was going through a lot of stuff, and boy, it came across the screen.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, like I say, I was already saying give the Emmy now, but knowing that backstory, that's a lock for at least an Emmy nomination, if not the win.
Yeah.
Seriously. This show really clicked on all points, and I really think that this now is going to push things very fast going into the end of the game, per se.
Could be.
I mean, we don't know how long Season 3 is. We do know it was greenlit, though.
Yep, it was greenlit before Season 2 started airing.
Right. So there is a lot of story still left to be told. 5 more episodes left this season. And then depending on when they come back and how long that wait is going to be, I mean, there's a lot of factors we don't know concerning that 3rd season.
Yeah.
We assume it's going to be the final season.
Hopefully it won't be as long of a wait, and I feel, and this might be awful of me to say, but I don't intend it that way, with Pedro Pascal now not being like a major contributing factor, it becomes, I think, a lot easier to do, because if you have him come back in flashback sequences, or even if you want to have he's there, but he's not really there type sequences, you can film everything else around it. And then when his schedule opens up, because busy dude, you can then bring him in and film those scenes. So hopefully it's not as long of a wait.
No, definitely not. I think that we have a lot to enjoy with right now with 5 more episodes left, like we say.
Yeah.
And this will be a perfect time period, because when this wraps up around Memorial Day, this is when summer movies kick into gear. We know that obviously Marvel has got one coming out that's going to be the big project, and what we're going to be talking about next segment. But for right now, the eyes of pop culture is on The Last of Us, and this episode is definitely drawing praise galore, and rightfully so. This might be the best episode on TV right now. Just going to put it out there. Like, that is how good this episode was. It is brutal. It is it is very unapologetic for how brutal it is.
No.
But this is one that definitely you should watch. If you've been into this series, it lives up to the hype and definitely does the video game justice. That all said, hit us up on the hashtag ODPH pod. What is your thoughts about Through the Valley, episode 2 of season 2 of HBO and Naughty Dog's The Last of Us? hit us up. Let us know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
You ever wondered what comics Mark from Vale is into? What Zach from Left Behind's favorite MCU movies are? Well, Metalcore Nerds is the show for you. My name is Sean Mott, and here at Metalcore Nerds, we cover the latest things in pop culture, whether it be Star Wars, Marvel, DC, AEW, and everything else in between. You can listen to the show every Monday on Adobe Howl at 7 p.m. Eastern, or find it anywhere you find podcasts after it debuts on the radio station.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, be sure to check out nerdinitiative.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to break down a series that has been long overdue to return to the screen.
Highly anticipated, too.
Highly anticipated, albeit with an ambitious format behind it. And for shows like us that do weekly episodic breakdowns, this is one that is going to challenge us a bit. So we are going to do things a little differently for this. The show we are going to break down is what, Pad?
Andor Season 2.
Right. So the prequel to Rogue One in the Star Wars universe, which was nothing but a slow burn drag out for the first season, albeit finished very, very strong.
Yes.
With Diego Luna reprising his role as Cassian Andor, who became the catalyst for one of the biggest events in all the Star Wars universe. To see where we're going now, Disney Plus and the fine folks at Star Wars and Lucasfilms are trying to do something very ambitious. They're releasing 3 episodes a week to represent the years as this builds towards Rogue One.
Yeah, so there's 12 episodes in this season. So you got 3 episodes each week. So effectively, in a month's time, the show will be over because it's only getting 2 seasons. It's going to... I've heard rumors. I've heard some speculation on where it's going to end. We know, obviously, it leads into Rogue One.
Yep.
You know, so, and obviously we know what happens during that film. So there's not going to be a season 3. There's not going to be a cliffhanger. There's not going to be what happens next. We know what happens next. You want to see what happens next, go watch the film on Disney Plus, or if you own it, pop out the Blu-ray. You know, but this is going to be it. This is the last season, and it's going to be over in a month, which initially I was like, as somebody who has a very busy life, I'm happily married and almost 6 months into the marriage. You know, I got other stuff going on in my life. The prospect of having to watch 3 episodes each week, you know, was daunting.
Yes.
To say the least.
To say the least.
I can do 1. 2 is pushing it, but doable. 3, I'm saying, even with it releasing 9 p.m. Eastern, you know, the night before.
Right. So it is a challenge, especially with how busy Pat and I are. But obviously, there was no chance we're not going to cover this.
Right.
But to respect you, the listening audience, and your time, instead of doing a 4-hour episode.
Oh, Lord.
Breaking down everything a little more deep. What Pat and I are electing to do for this, and obviously hit us up on the hashtag ODPHpod if you're into this, if you're not, is we are going to kind of give the overall view of the 3 episodes per week.
Yeah.
So that way we are not sitting here wasting your time, and you have to keep pausing the episode because unless you want to listen for 4 hours, which, hey.
I'll talk Star Wars for 4 hours. I can probably do it.
I was going to say that. That's not exactly a challenge per se to Pad, but obviously with respect to your time, we are electing to do this. Just kind of give you the overview of the 3 episodes and let you know what stood out to us and what didn't. So we'll do it like we always do, Pat. Spoiler-free statement, and then we can really kind of dive into. So let's talk Andor. Season 2, episodes 1, 2, and 3.
So going into this, I was a little trepidatious, I guess you could say, just because it's well documented. We weren't the biggest fans of how the first season started, and we're not. I know some people sing its praises that it's some of the best television they've ever seen, and the best piece of Star Wars they've ever seen. And if that's the case for you, that's fine. You know, it wasn't for me. I enjoyed it by the end, but I did not enjoy it at the start. So when the embargo's lifted and everyone's singing its praises, and I mean, I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score as we record, this is the highest I've ever seen anything, film or television, considering it, and granted, it just came out, but even still, 73 critic reviews. This thing is sitting at a 99%. Not for the show, for the season. And with the viewers, with over 250 viewer ratings, it's at an 81%, which is very good. You know, but the critics one came out, and I'm like, holy smokes, that's high. So and like I said, going into it a little trepidatious, little hesitant, I was gonna watch it. I'm not gonna sit here and wait a month and binge watch the entire thing. But I was looking at this going, you know what? I hope they improve upon it, at least for me. I was, like I said, I was reluctant and not a fan of the 3 episodes. I, in fact, told a friend yesterday they had seen the trailer. They didn't see or somehow missed when the episode was getting, or when the series was coming back. And I told them, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, I'm not a fan of the release schedule. And they're like, oh, what's the release? And I told them, they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the you-know-what to do. But having watched the 3 episodes, I got to say, for what they're doing, it works. I watched all 3 in succession, which was probably a dumb mistake on my part. I don't know. But it really does play like a movie. Where if they were to release this entire season as one, I don't know how long it would be, super cut together, it would work really well in a movie format of you just hit play and you watch it to the end. Because the 3 episodes they do for this release flow incredibly well together, tie incredibly well together, and doesn't really feel disjointed at all, like you might expect from one episode to the next. Because any show you watch, there's filler, there's stuff that, it doesn't mean much now, but down the road it's going to mean something. You don't really get a lot of that in these first couple episodes. And I really enjoyed it, and to see where they're possibly going to go and some of the stuff they're building, because there's a number of years before we're going to get to the events of Rogue One, and to see us get there is going to be a fun trip, I will say.
Yeah, this one, I thought they did the concept very well. Mm-hmm. And it almost felt like they did it simultaneously. Like they didn't stop. Like, okay, sure, we're going to take episode 1 entitled 1 Year Later and edit it up while we're recording, we're recording episode 2, Sagrona Tamina, or Tima. And I think that they just didn't stop, which I think this works, because especially if you're going to do those 2 episodes plus Harvest, episode 3, you want to have that flow move. And I thought, I agree with you. I think they really had a good flow for this. Yeah. It didn't feel disjointed. It didn't feel lost. It didn't feel like Andor season 1, where I was like, okay,
when are we getting to the good stuff?
Yeah, what are we doing here? I thought they established enough in those 3 episodes that I'm like, okay, I get an idea what we're doing here. I'm on board. I didn't feel so tuned out and going, this is a waste of time that I don't want to watch it. I'm actually very invested in it, which I didn't think I was going to say when this series came out for the sequel. But performances were on point. Everything moving the needle forward is good. And especially now, I'm more curious to see where we go as we jump a year. Yeah. That's where I'm more concerned with. So we'll have to wait to see how it shapes up. But I am very curious to see about pop culture's reaction to this. Yeah. Because it still is very new. And the one thing that I've seen, and let me know if you've seen something different. Okay. We've seen reactions online, but not to the point where fans are analyzing key elements that intently.
Correct. No, I'd agree with that.
I think everybody is taking this in as one whole picture instead of dissecting it up. Yeah. Which.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Which is kind of refreshing a little bit, because
oh my God, yeah.
We typically see this with the Netflix shows when they all binge watch at once.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like seeing this for this series.
It's refreshing even for me as a diehard Star Wars fan who, listen, I try and consume as much Star Wars as I can. There are some things I like more than others. Certainly if you ask me my ranking of the films, I'll give it to you. I rank some of them higher than others. I enjoy some of them more than others. And I will watch everything Star Wars that comes out. I'll skip the kids one because, hey, I'm not the target demographic one. What is it, Young Jedi Adventures? I'm not going to watch that. I'm not. That's more for my niece who's very young than me. So I'll consume most stuff. And for me, it's been refreshing to be able to go on social media after seeing these 3 episodes and not seeing everyone tear a certain scene to shreds because it's not what I would have done. It's not what I pictured in my head.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's very cool to see. So a great start thus far between all 3 episodes. So let's get into a little spoiler talk. Yeah. And really break these down. So Pat, in 3, 2, 1, let's really talk about it.
Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting take to do what they did and have it jumped in time forward. Although, hey, it makes sense. Like I said, there's a lot of years between where we were You know, it was all a year forward, you know, but to see the time jump made sense, you know, to see what they're kind of setting up and where it's going. Obviously, you got to get a few moving parts into place. You know, that's one of the things with predetermined outcomes you got to do. You know, you got to get certain people into certain places. It's just all part of the journey and getting there. But I thought it was really good. I thought the acting was on point. It was incredible for me to see Ben Mendelsohn back as Orson Krennic. Mm-hmm. He was phenomenal in Rogue One. Probably one of my favorite parts of Rogue One that wasn't the main heroes, because, hey, I always love the good guys. You know, but to see Ben Mendelsohn get the opportunity to play that character again, spoiler alert, but heck, the movie's almost 10 years old now. You know, to see Ben Mendelsohn back on screen again playing Krennic, and honestly, like I said, it's been almost 10 years since that film came out, and it's probably been 10 years since he's filmed the character.
Yeah.
You know, that film probably filmed in 2015, if I'm doing my math right. It's like no time has passed. It's like, oh yeah, I took a week off for vacation, but I'm right back into the role. He was phenomenal in this entire first couple episodes. You know, Diego Luna obviously was very good, and just to see kind of where they're building and where they're going, I'm excited.
I'm definitely excited to see where we're going here. I thought the one thing that I was waiting to see, and I think I really saw it here, was Diego Luna's character growth.
Yes.
That Cassian Andor at least felt like the lead instead of the reluctant lead.
Well, and especially you think back to some of those early moments in the first season where he was, I guess you could say, kind of bright and cheery.
Yeah.
You know, he was happy-go-lucky. That's not the same way we see him at the start of Rogue One or the beginning third of Rogue One, where he's very jaded. He's very cold. Mm-hmm. He's very, I hate this. Let's just go do it.
Yeah. No, I think the character growth here has been tremendous, and I think that's one of the strong suits. Mm-hmm. I think between him and Mon Mothma, played by Genevieve O'Reilly, those have been the two characters that really stood out to me.
Which, shout out to Genevieve O'Reilly, originally played the character Mon Mothma for Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Back in 2005. The scenes were cut from the film. You can read the scenes in the novelization, which is getting a re-release this year, which you better bet that's on my pre-order list. One of the best Star Wars novels ever. And I think a lot of fans will agree with me on that. But if you was in the filmed scenes for the movie, cut from the film, so you can see the deleted scenes on the DVD, Blu-ray, or on Disney Plus. But to get to play the character, even all these years later, shout out to her.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that the character performance is really standing out. And especially those two have been the two jump outs to me thus far.
Yes, because obviously with the way the story plays out, she can be a little more bold than, say, Organa.
Yeah,
Organa. Leia. No, not Leia. Her adopted father.
Yeah.
I'm blanking. I'll have to look up the name. I'm blanking on it.
No, I could definitely see that, and it's something that you have to be bold in this, and you really have to do something that stands out from the crowd.
Yeah,
and I think that's where the performance.
Bail Organa, that's what it is.
There you go.
Bail.
Jimmy Smits,
who's got to be a little more behind the scenes, a little more secretive, whatever. To see Mon Mothma be a little more, I'm not going to be as secretive as you are, is awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, there has to be that evolution of character, if you will. So, I mean, that's the one thing we want to see here, and sure enough, we finally get it.
Yeah,
and especially too with how they're tying in about Cassian talking to the new recruit. Mm-hmm. I to see him really kind of buy into the Kool-Aid of the Republic, or the rebellion.
Yeah,
that was kind of a moment too. Mm-hmm. Especially when he's like, the Empire can't win.
Well, especially you think of what happened in season 1. You had his mother die, at the hands of the Empire, and just kind of, he hasn't seen, necessarily the propaganda, I guess you could say, the Empire puts out. For the folks, Coruscant and some of the inner systems of the galaxy. He's seen the ugly side, that they might not necessarily want the general public to see, and he's not blinded by the rose-colored glasses they might want people to see.
No, definitely not. I mean, you could see it when he was captured there too.
Yeah,
especially how he responds. Mm-hmm. I thought that was another key point too.
Yeah. The whole sequence with him stealing the TIE fighter, the experimental TIE fighter at the beginning was great.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed like a little fun callback or call forward, I guess you could say, with Finn and Poe from Force Awakens.
Yeah, I mean,
Which I'm like, hey, not everyone can pilot anything expertly right out the gate.
Yeah, so
it makes sense. It's believable.
it made perfect sense. And I think that that's just something to show, like, even though as much as he's grown, he still finds ways to...
Still rough around the edges.
Right, to kind of evolve here, too. But you're seeing, as he's getting thrown in the trial by fire, he's at least adapting enough. So I did like seeing that.
And somebody, hashtag ODPH pod, correct me if I'm wrong, that one stormtrooper at the beginning of the episode, oh lordy, when he goes to steal the TIE fighter out of the hangar bay or whatever it is, and he can't get the ship to fire, and it's like jammed or something, and the one stormtrooper is just unloading on him. Hashtag ODPH podding, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure half of that stormtrooper got disintegrated from the blaster bolt from the TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's one of those moments that it's like, yeah, we're really moving things along. I think the only time they really kind of slowed things down, though, is when we went to Minaru, and obviously dealing with Bix Kellen's character.
Yeah.
Adira Jonah played her.
Yep.
What did you think of that whole sequence?
I thought, I was kind of interested to see it play out. It wasn't necessarily something I expected. I was kind of hoping the planet would be, and I was talking about this with the friend yesterday, that I thought the planet might be the one from Rebels at this Ezra's planet. I thought it might be that one. It's not. It's fine. I enjoy seeing new planets in Star Wars and not just kind of the same ones every week. It's interesting to kind of see things from outside. Outside just, the Tatooines and the Coruscants and Alderons, like, that's fine. But like, we know what's going on there. We need to see outside of those core planets, no pun intended.
Right.
And kind of see the broader picture of what's going on. Because we always hear about how awful the Empire is, and there's a reason the planets, the systems rose up and fought against it and overthrew the Emperor. But like, what are those reasons other than he's just an awful POS?
Right. Yeah, I mean, fleshing that out a little more, I think, is always key. Because, I blame the Jedis for a lot because, well, they deserve it.
Hey, listen, even Ahmed Best admitted Jar Jar Binks wasn't the best senator.
Thank you. I mean, listen, the Jedis deserve whatever they get. They do it to themselves. They're not so noble and they're not so smart. The Empire's just trying to bring everybody together.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. One nation under Vader with, liberty and force chokes for all.
You're not wrong.
But once again, getting back on track, the performances, like I say, were really standing out here, and like we say about Mon Mothra, especially the wedding.
Oh yeah, that was awesome to see. Just because, hey, as much as these are known as the Dark Times, I mean, hell, Dark Horse did an entire comic series set in this time period called Dark Times, Dark Ages, something like that. The little bit of hope, a little bit of happiness, always fun to see.
It's a fun moment, but I like how they balance it out because. As much as there's that moment and you're trying to go for, some semblance of peace.
Some little bit of bright in the dark.
There's always something that brings it back. And especially, this happens when she deals with her husband. And I mean, and that whole ordeal, especially when Perrin has to have that conversation. And describe that moment, Pat.
So I guess there's a message in there with, Mon Mothma gives the newlyweds, which, hi, I got married, almost 6 months ago. Now it'll be 6 months next week. You get a lot of messages and you get a lot of, hey, here's what you're going to run into in your marriage, which I was able to relate to in a certain way. You always appreciate those messages, and it's good to get wise and sage advice from folks who've, been where you are. But to just see Mon Mothma presents a shining, smiling face that there's behind the mask. She's nervous as all hell. She's concerned. And she ain't as maybe timid as she might present herself.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing you really have to kind of see. And we always kind of see those celebrities, in front of the camera, in front of the public eye. You're always in that, moment of time, but then again, it's like behind the scenes is like it's really not as flashy as it seems.
Yeah.
And especially, like I say, the interactions with her husband there,
Yeah.
not exactly the best things.
No.
But it also is, like I say, it's building up for more. And obviously, she's such a big part of this that I think that also comes into play.
Yeah.
And especially too, like where we wind up going to with the final episodes. Casson is, of course, doing his business, but sure enough, does not make it in time.
Yeah.
Because when he tries making it back home to see Bix, well,
things kind of go sideways.
no.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing too, and it's a reflection on him. So he can't win no matter what. Like that was another performance. I think that was a kind of I thought it was a strong way to cap things off.
Yeah.
Because you need to kind of have him, unfortunately, have pain because he's fueled by pain. And that's what's making him the standout character. I don't want to say it's a sympathetic, but you can kind of understand what he's dealing with. Like he's trying his best, but his best isn't good enough.
Yeah.
And when he has to do that, like it's just crazy to see play out.
Yeah.
But it's one that really works too. But when you see that he comes in and it's just like, yeah, sure enough, he's able to help, but he's not able to really truly help. That's what throws things off.
I like there was also the one moment in, I can't remember if it was episode 2 or 3, because hey, I watched 3 hours of television all at once. But there was a moment in episode 2 or 3 when we saw Krennic and the other Imperial heads meeting together, and they were talking about the power poles or whatever the hell they called them. But they're like, oh yeah, this will really, the Emperor is really focused on solving the power crisis or the energy crisis for the galaxy, and this will really help solve that. And it's something the Emperor is really invested in and involved in. And the way they're describing it, I'm like, oh, you're not sitting there talking about any actual like distribution of power or getting it to the folks who might need it and don't have it right and don't have it in abundance right now. You're talking about something to do with the Death Star. You're talking about the focusing laser, or the way the Death Star shoots its laser out, and you're just masking it as something else. I thought it was a really brilliant scene.
Yeah, I do too. Like I say, I think they've done a lot of key points here.
Yeah,
and especially the character build. Like that's the one thing that really took me home.
Yeah, well, and that's the awesome thing with that scene is you think about just how large the Death Star is. It's the size of a moon.
Yeah,
like something like that, and especially in abundance of how big it is, it's going to get noticed by somebody. Like something that size isn't necessarily, if you're in the Empire, gonna be totally unnoticed for the 20 plus years they're working on this thing, until it's completed with Rogue One, So to see those little moments of like, okay, it's not as easy as like, oh, let's just come up with the thing, bankroll it, and put it together. There's a little bit of legwork that's got to get done and a little bit of subterfuge.
Yeah. But still, they're making it happen, and it's doing the right thing, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we needed the extra thing with Brasso, though.
No, maybe not.
That's the only part I was kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Joplin Siptane, who plays Brasso, I mean, it's a great moment to be the catalyst, but it's like, if I have to say, there was one thing I didn't like about it. It was just like, Caston's already been established to have all this pain.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, arrives late, friends captured.
Yeah.
He has to do with the heroic thing. I like at least there was some action going on here because, otherwise it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's not going to be Andor snooze fest again. But, for what we got for these 3 episodes, I thought they nailed the mark.
Yeah. I mean, it works really well. I know I was skeptical, and I think I even said as much on the show that like the 3 episode thing, I don't know if I really agree with it. But you know what? When you watch them back to back to back, if you're able to, it works really well. If you're not, I don't think you'll really lose anything watching them not in sequence together, but it works really well, and it makes sense. And they really are kind of like mini movies within the season. It works really well.
I feel it's just like, a big movie chopped up in 3s, which is fine.
Which, hey, if they want to cut this together after the season is over and done with as one giant movie, I'm all right with that.
I mean, we all sat through Zack Snyder's Justice League for 4 hours.
I sat through Return of the King Extended Edition in theaters for the 20th anniversary. That shit's 4.5 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say. So I think fans would show up if they want to do it. And you know what? I would not mind seeing Disney do this.
No, I wouldn't either.
Down the road. Like, obviously not by May the 4th. It's not going to happen.
No, they got other things coming out May 4th.
Right. So there's a lot to digest with this, but I think overall, Pat and I are both pleased with how this all started.
Yeah.
Strong performances. Like I said, Diego Luna, obviously absolutely killing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
With casting Andor. And Genevieve O'Reilly, I'd say Mom Mothra.
Yeah.
Those have been the two that really stood out.
Yes.
Everybody else has been doing solid work.
Yeah.
But I would not say it's been lights out just yet. But I think those two have been the two pace setters for the show.
Right.
And I'm very interested to see where this time jump goes, because that is the biggest X factor about the show.
Mm-hmm.
But for 3 episodes in, I think they nailed the point that they needed to.
Agreed.
So that being said, hit us up on the hashtag ODPHpod. Star Wars Andor is back on the small screen, 3 episodes down. What is your takes on them? Give us the good, the bad, and the because we definitely want to talk about the series. I know it's a lot to digest, 3 episodes in one day, but we can definitely talk about it. So hit us up, let us know. We're going to get a quick breakout. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you better listen to the ODPH podcast, or I'm coming for you, and Batman is coming for you.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about. A couple movie trailers got released today, and a couple TV show trailers got released today as we record. First of which, I didn't know was coming. I saw who was in it, and I'm like, all right, I'm intrigued. Watch the trailer. I'm on board. Coming to us from the fine folks over at MGM and Amazon Prime, releasing on July the 2nd on Prime Video. A movie called Heads of State. Now, it's going to be starring Idris Elba and John Cena. Idris will be playing the United Kingdom Prime Minister. John Cena going to be playing the United States President. And a movie where it appears these two have a history. Mm-hmm. They know each other. They're not exactly the biggest fans of each other. However, things go off the rail. They're targeted by an enemy. We don't know who it is. And then they are stuck in the wilds of a jungle someplace and only have each other to survive. The cast looks awesome because other than the two I mentioned, you've got Priyanka Chopra. Jonas is also in this movie. And Jack Quaid. The movie looks fun. If you're a fan of 80s action movies, this looks like it's right up that alley.
Oh, this is classic 80s style right here, just modernized. I'm in. I think this looks dope.
Yeah. Then we got a movie trailer for a movie that I think I remember hearing about, but I totally forgot about. That would be Predator Badland.
Yeah.
Coming November 7th. Now, the director who did Prey is doing this movie, which, hi, fan of Prey. Mm-hmm. The director's name was Dan Trachtenberg. This one is starring Ellie Fanning and Demetrius Schuster Kolomanagani. It's set, looks like, in a future planet. You got a young predator who is looks like they're on a mission. As the trailer says, you're trying to hunt something that you can't kill. Mm-hmm. Good luck telling a predator that.
Yeah.
The film looks fun. I got to admit, I'm on board. I might check this out.
Yeah, this one I think has potential. I know there's a lot of Easter egg buzz about a certain alien on the wall
At the beginning of the trailer.
Listen, I'm perfectly fine with it because I can't stand the movie that is the centerpiece of. So, listen, I'm probably gonna go watch it if that's the case.
Shout out Will Smith.
Yep,
that's all I'm gonna say. Then we got a trailer for an upcoming season 2 of a show I am excited for, and this is Wednesday, season 2, of course, from Tim Burton, among others. Release. So we're getting a 2-part release. Part 1 of the season is releasing on August 6th. Part 2 is releasing on September 3rd. I cannot wait. I remember when season 1 came out, I wasn't necessarily that. I'm like, I'll get around to it eventually, which usually means I won't get around to it at all. But it was actually my then girlfriend. I don't think we were engaged yet, but my then girlfriend was like, hey, why don't we watch Wednesday? I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay. I remember watching the Addams Family cartoon when I was a kid in the 90s. I've seen, the movies that came out, I want to say not too long ago, but I know it was a little while ago, so I remember enjoying it. I'm like, yeah, why don't we watch it? And I was pleasantly surprised by season 1. I went in with kind of no expectations, ended up loving it. If you haven't seen season 1, seriously, go watch season 1. It's incredible. And get ready for season 2 because it is coming. And oh boy, it looks like it's more of the same antics.
One of the biggest surprises on television in recent years.
I would say so. Yeah.
But this one I know a lot of people are excited about. So
yeah. Then we got a video game trailer for the upcoming sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yote. And we also got a release date for this movie.
Ooh.
Or movie. Looks like a movie. The game is coming out on PlayStation 5 on October 2nd, 2025. Now, this is going to be set 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima. It's a standalone set in the 1600s of rural Japan, and we're going to be following a lone mercenary named Atsu. Thirsty for revenge, she's going to be traveling some of the rugged landscapes of northern Japan and looking for somebody and some folks who killed her family many years earlier. Ghost of Tsushima, one of the most beautiful games I've played in recent memory. Also one of the most fun games I've played in recent memory. I platinumed that game, which means I got every trophy for that game.
Yeah.
It wasn't a struggle. It wasn't a grind. It was so much fun. And man, I cannot wait to play this. I am going to pre-order this as soon as I humanly can.
Yeah, this looks great.
Yeah. Then we got to talk Star Wars Celebration Japan. That went down this past weekend. Not going to go through everything. Just going to go through some of the stuff that jumped out to us and me. First of which, we did get a look, and they did talk a little bit about Ahsoka Season 2, which is going to be, I think it starts filming this week.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. We did get a look at Rory McCann, who is going to be taking on the role of Baylan Skull. Obviously, since we had the unfortunate passing of Ray Stevenson. The photo is out in the wild. He does look very similar to Ray Stevenson from season 1. So they did a very good job with that casting. I cannot wait to see it. The Loth cats are now Loth kittens. Good Lord, that's going to be adorable as all you know what. We did also find Hayden Christensen coming back for season 2 for season 2 of Ahsoka.
Big thing there.
Oh, yeah. So we will find out about that. They also did talk a little bit about the upcoming film Mandalorian and Grogu releasing in theaters May 22nd, 2026. So just about a year away. They also did release a trailer, which, oh boy, that trailer was a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Oh boy. We saw a certain character. We saw Zeb from Rebels was in that trailer. Looks like there's going to be a war between what remains of the Empire and the Mandalorians. They said the thing in the trailer. They called Thrawn the heir to the Empire. They said the thing. So I cannot wait for that. We also did get to see a photo of the one, the only, the incomparable Sigourney Weaver on set for Mandalorian and Grogu. Cannot wait to see her in this movie. Side note, Cleo Thomas, who was Zero in the film Holes, starred alongside that movie with Sigourney Weaver, who was the warden in Holes. Got to see a photo of the two of them reunited after like 20 some odd years. Awesome to see that in taking place this past weekend.
Agreed.
I loved it. The other one that we found out and officially got confirmed is that we got a film. It was rumored Ryan Gosling was going to be in a Star Wars movie. We just didn't know what it was going to be. Well, we didn't have long to wait to find out. The upcoming film Star Wars Starfighter was announced at Celebration. Gosling is going to be starring in the upcoming film. Directing the film, you might have heard of him. Some dude named Sean Levy. You might have heard of him. He kind of directed Deadpool and Wolverine.
Free guy
among many other films. So I'm excited for this. We did find out that the film is going to take place 5 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. Early word is it sounds like it's going to be a standalone. It's not necessarily going to tie into what they're already planning for post Rise of Skywalker. It's going to be its own thing. Listen, it's if they make it anything like Top Gun, I'm all right with that.
I'd be perfectly fine with this. Gosling in the Star Wars universe, I think, is a big bucket of wins. So.
Yep. They also did announce a couple of things for the television side of things. We did get a release date for Star Wars Visions Volume 3.
Very cool.
Yep, that is coming on October 29th, 2025, and there will be a new spin-off series that will debut with the next chapter of The Ninth Jedi. That story began back in Volume 1. That's going to be that's going to be a full season of that story. So continuation, whatever it's going to be, I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Also, Visions Volume 3. Man, keep doing Visions until nobody wants to do it anymore.
Agreed. Visions is so much of a creative force.
So much fun. Then, in the I didn't know this was coming, but oh my God, give it to me now department, we saw the announcement of a new animated series from Star Wars called Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. Now, this one is obviously going to follow Sam Witwer's Darth Maul. After the events of the final season of Clone Wars, he's going to try and rebuild his crime syndicate on a planet untouched by the Empire. Yes, Sam Witwer is voicing the character. Early rumor is this is going to contain the story from the video game that got canceled right around the same time Disney bought Lucasfilm. So, hey, There are going to be some things in that series the internet's going to love. I'll just tell you that right now.
Yeah.
2 words: Darth Talon. I don't. Certain Star Wars fans, I don't need to think I say any more about that.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff from Star Wars over the weekend. That was a lot of fun to see. Also, might get something from Acolyte. I'm speculating.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation going on there.
Listen, they brought one of the actors from Acolyte to the StarWars.com stage. I guess you call it's the one that got live streamed over the weekend, and they had him there. Which, why would you bring him there? And why would you bring him on the live stream stage if the show's canceled? Just saying.
It's a great point.
And then we had finally in video game news, we had a thing that was rumored. I didn't want to believe it was real until it actually got announced or confirmed to not be true. But hey, it turned out to be real. And you can actually go out and play this right now. But Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion got remastered. Although, let's face it, from the stuff I've seen in this, you can call it a remake, if anything. It's out currently for Xbox Series X and S. Also on Game Pass, Windows, Steam, PS5. If you don't have Game Pass, it's only $49.99, which is a hell of a deal. But yeah, it's a complete remaster of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which I got to admit, not one I played, so I'm excited to get this and download it. But yeah, did not see this coming. You can buy the standard edition, or you can get the deluxe edition, which I believe is $70, $69.99. The deluxe edition comes with the digital base game, new quests for unique digital Akatosh and Mehrunes Dagon armors, weapons, and yes, the horse armor set made infamous from the original releases is in this game. If you don't know the story of that, look it up. It's kind of funny and kind of sad. You have a digital art book and soundtrack app. You've got the Shivering Isles and Knights of the Nine story expansions, plus additional downloadable content, including Fighter's Stronghold, Spell Tomes, Vile Lair, Mehrunes Razor, The Thieves' Den, Wizard's Tower, The Orrery, and Horse Armor Pack. So go check it out if you haven't done anything, or you're like me and you're tired of waiting for Elder Scrolls 6. Because, Lord, I'm tired of waiting. I got so tired of waiting, I'm going to go back and play Elder Scrolls 4.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's a long wait, but you know that game is going to dominate your life, though.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to need like 3 weeks off of everything.
Denied.
And then lastly, and certainly not leastly, news that was announced while we were recording. Hey, they didn't wait until after.
Hey.
We got some casting news for the upcoming Hunger Games film, Sunrise on the Reaping, and it has gotten its first 2 leads cast. Now, playing the title role, or the main character role for Hamish Abernathy, this is, of course, a book set before the events of the Hunger Games with Jennifer Lawrence. But it's going to feature a young Hamish Abernathy, who was, of course, played by Woody Harrelson wonderfully in those first 4 films. But playing the role of Hamish Abernathy is going to be a gentleman by the name of Joseph Zada. I had not heard the name. I looked him up on IMDb. Literal unknown, because he's got 4 acting credits on his IMDb. His first role was in 2019 and was looks like it was a movie titled Bilched. Which came out in 2019. Then he was in a movie called The Speedway Murders, where he played a character named Dan. That was in 2023. Was in 3 episodes of a TV series called Total Control. That was in 2024. And then he was in 10 episodes of a TV series that's out. It looks like it's out this year, called Invisible Boys. So never really heard of this guy. So excited to see what he can bring to the role and bring to the universe. And then also joining him, it's going to be playing his girlfriend, Lenore. The character's name is Lenore Dove Baird, is an actress by the name of Whitney Peak. Now, some of you might have heard of her. She was in Molly's Game in 2017, was in 10 episodes of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the Netflix series, was in 10 episodes of the TV series Home Before Dark, and was also in Campfire Kiss, among some other things. She did an episode of iZombie, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, some other things. But yeah, they got the first 2 roles cast in that film, and I cannot wait to see this. I still got to read that book.
Yes.
Super excited for it, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, iZombie, you can't go wrong with.
Nope.
I say vastly underrated, so definitely have to keep an eye on that. Also, it's New Comic Book Day. Pad, what you picking up?
Going to be picking up 2 things at the comic book shop this week because I was so busy with the getting ready for the interview Tom and I did with Greg Weisman, which out on YouTube. You should go check it out right now. It's a fantastic interview. Did not have any time to review anything for Nerd Initiative this week. So what am I picking up? 2 things. First one is from Marvel, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 2 from Joe Kelly. I've loved the entire Joe Kelly run they've been doing this far, so I got to keep up with what's going on. This one reads, Rhino Rampage. What amped Rhino up from criminal super bruiser to rampaging disaster machine? We aren't spelling, but it just amped up Spider-Man. That's right. Spider-Man is going in and out of control of his senses, trying to figure out how to get full control of his body. And the only people who can help him are Norman Osborn and Peter's long-lost childhood best friend. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, this whole series has been fun. It's a very, very cool throwback to classic Spider-Man times. Not reinventing the wheel by any means, but it's a traditional feel to it, which I really love the series thus far.
And then the other one I'm going to pick up is actually from Dark Horse. It's issue number 1 of the new Witcher series called The Bear and the Butterfly. Now, this one's written by Simon Spurrier, who you might know. He did Coda, Damn Them All, Legion of X, John Constantine.
Damn Them All is dope, man.
John Constantine Hellblazer, and the artwork is done by Stephen Green, who did Sea of Stars, Hellboy, and the BPRD, and then 1957, Forgotten Lives, Lobster Johnson, Garden of Bones. This is going to be a 4-issue series, and this one reads, quote, Geralt travels to a remote town where a vampire is rumored to be killing the townspeople. The bounty has amassed all manner of monster hunters, and among them is another Witcher from the School of the Bear, a fierce competitor for the reward, close quote. So, anything Witcher, I'm all for it, especially since I got to wait forever and a day for the video games to come out, forever and a day for I guess there's a new book coming. I got to wait forever and a day for that. I'm going to reluctantly watch the final season of the show because, hey, listen, I'm this far at this point. I might as well watch how it ends.
True.
So at this point, this is about the only Witcher content I'm getting these days. So, hey, I'll read it.
Yeah, definitely have to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah.
All right, so for as crazy as this week has been, I have a laundry list of books right now. Mm-hmm. So I'll go through them as quick as I can. First and foremost, I'm going to make a bold statement here. I think the best comic, or at least one of them that needs to be in the conversation now, is Assorted Crisis Events.
Okay.
This is a book by Dennis Camp.
Oh, well, you sold me.
And Eric Zawadzki. And this is it's the cool concept about time is fractured.
Sure.
So we're seeing just displacement throughout the storyline. It's like an anthology deal. It's focusing on different characters.
Okay.
The first one was a very cool thing following a girl in New York City and her daily situations going on.
Sure.
And it's very grounded. Considering all the nonsense going on, there's a war going on outside her building, but yes, she's focused on is trying to get to work. This one's about a guy who is dealing with family issues and just the complexity of what is going on in his family dynamic. It follows him as he's a baby to when he's older and such. And it's a cool story, just mixing in a lot of emotions with this. Like I say, it's just a very cool analysis of the world around us. And I just think what Dennis Camp is writing here is just next level. And Zawadzki's art is just mind blowing. How they set up panels. There really isn't anything like this on the shelves right now, and just how deeply emotional they go with because I follow the character, his name is Jesus in this one, and you see about how he starts as a boy and dealing with his mother and how the deal with the father is passing, and then they flash back to him and his father and where they were working at a meat solutions plant, and it's just crazy about what is all falling out here amongst the crazy time. I'm showing Pat the cover here.
Holy cow, what the hell?
So, right, exactly. It's so misleading about what's happening, but in all the right reasons. It makes sense as you read the story.
Right.
But this is one of the dopest series I think I've picked up in quite some time. So, like I say, I'm going to make the bold statement. It's in that conversation for best comic on the shelves right now. Amazing Spider-Man was in my list, too. I can't emphasize that enough.
Joe Kelly's been so good.
Yeah, he's been on, man. I love seeing him on Spider-Man, and especially Pepe Larraz's art. Absolutely crushing it right now. So, another one on my series pickups this week. This is a throwback, but I have to explain it with some context.
Okay.
1992, 7 creators leave Marvel.
Right.
They form Image Comics.
Right.
The first book out the gate is Rob Liefeld's Youngblood.
Okay.
So, obviously, a lot of expectations what we're going to have with this series. And what transpires throughout with the characters of Youngblood throughout the years. Like I say, it's a pivotal point of history.
Uh-huh.
it was announced last year that Rob Liefeld is bringing in, is going to be doing Youngblood again, and it's coming to Image at some point. I know he is doing stuff with his Whatnot store.
Right.
So if you're into what Rob is doing, definitely go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
But they decided to remaster Youngblood 1.
Really?
So we have Youngblood Deluxe.
Oh, cool.
So Joe Casey came on board. They rescripted, they recolored, relettered. They really did a lot of things to upgrade this from the original book in 92. Now, I remember reading the book in 92. And I've always been a big Rob Liefeld fan. I thought like his X-Force, what he did with New Mutants, it was like really, at the time, mind-blowing. X-Force, some might say it was a little more intense.
Yeah.
For that time period. But listen, I had no problem with it. Youngblood is an interesting concept because it also deals like you have these larger-than-life superheroes, but they're also celebrities in this world.
Right.
And it's kind of like the fine-tuned balance of what's going on. I think what they did here, like the remastered version, it still is one I think fans should check out. If you're not familiar with the series, like this is a great like gateway into it.
Sure.
Because I think it captures the core essence of it.
Okay.
And this is one I picked up, and like I'm excited to see when this comes out. Like I said, I believe they're redoing all 4 of the original run of the limited series of Youngblood before they went to monthly. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. And like I say, I think you have to keep in context when this book was done. This is a 90s book, but it still hits the key points. That's the big take home with this. So definitely, if you want to find out what the buzz was about back then, I remember walking into the comic shops and seeing this. This takes you back and then some. So definitely keep that on your radars. Also, taking it back, no, I would say not so much, but yes, so much. G.I. Joe 6, Joshua Williamson, Tom Riley, Energon Universe, Image Comics, Skybound Entertainment. This has been the showdown we've all been waiting for, Duke versus Cobra Commander. Game changer in the Energon Universe. The last page, I'm sure, is making the social media rounds. I have not been watching right now.
Probably.
But it's making it with big reason, too. So you definitely want to go check that out. Speaking of G.I. Joe, they've been doing the silent missions. This time around, Andrew Kranke and Francesco Segala are bringing Roadblock into the forefront. Oh. So remember, these are stories with no dialogue, just art, and they tell the story. And this is one about him doing a little rescue mission involving the G.I. Joes. So definitely, like the series is not missed. Everything that's been going on with the silent missions, I think everybody should go check out. From the DC side of things, a story that I think needs more spotlight on it. This is one of the best Superman stories I've read in quite some time. Superman: The Last Days of Lex Luthor, number 3. Yeah. Mark Waid, Brian Hitch. This is the finale of the Black Label Superman story.
Yeah.
It lives up. It lands. It nails the landing. It is everything you want from a Superman story. It really breaks down Clark and Lex and their relationship throughout the years, and like puts in a lot of things into context. Like it's very well done. Really love everything about this. The ending, definitely, it's one. It brought a smile to my face.
I'll have to ask you what the ending is because I saw a panel or a page of this online.
Sure,
and it warmed me a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, this is nice.
Mark Waid, I will say this is probably, in my opinion, he's the best superhero writer in comics.
Okay,
and he knows how to capture Clark Kent's voice.
Mm-hmm.
I will say probably better than most. Listen, there's a lot of people that can really do it, but I think when Mark is doing traditional superheroes, he does it better than everybody.
Okay.
So I think I will follow up with you off air about this. Hit me up in the hashtag ODPH pod if you want to pick this up. I'll talk your ear off about this and then some. But I really think that they nailed the point, and I think I know exactly what you're talking about without going into it. Also from DC Comics, Batman 159.
Hey.
Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee. Hush 2 is in full swing.
Oh, right. I forgot about this.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to be very honest about this. I am always a big fan of Jim Lee's art. The story is not hitting with me.
Okay.
I put it in my review on Nerd Initiative and odphpodcast.com. There's a lot of areas that I'm just very confused with right now.
Sure.
Without giving it away, but where it picks up from the Joker being on death's door because of Hush and what Batman does to save him. There's a guest star of this appearance, and you'll see him on the cover, obviously, if you pick this up. how that plays out, it's missing the mark with me. And listen, if this plays out in one of two ways, I can understand. I don't want to spoil anything, even though the book is out. But if you're reading this, I can definitely have some more conversation about this. But I will say I'm just not into the story at this moment. I will pick it up because it's Jim Lee art.
Right.
Because Jim Lee is arguably my personal favorite artist of all time. Like, he's up in that conversation. But for what they're doing in this book, I've got issues. I've got issues with it. And I'm waiting to see if we get a payoff. If we don't get a payoff next issue, I will be having a rant about this. Going to happier things. Justice League Unlimited, Mark Waid, Travis Moore. This is the second part of the We Are Yesterday storyline. Oh. So I've been following what's going on. The Legion of Doom is back.
Oh, boy.
Like the real Legion of Doom.
Right.
Gorilla Grodd has been the orchestrator of all these events. This is a little bit of a time travel back and forth, but it makes sense. And this explains one of the biggest moments going on in JLU. Since day one. Don't want to spoil anything, but since I've been reading it, I was like, oh, we got our payoff. Well played. And I am very intrigued on where we're going from here. DC Comics yet again. One of my favorite stories out right now. I've had some great conversations about this. Mm-hmm. Absolute Martian Manhunter #2. Oh, okay. Dennis Cant, Javier Rodriguez. This is the Absolute Universe, and where Camp and Rodriguez are taking this character is different. This is not the same John Jones we've seen for years in Justice League and what's such.
Right.
You have to take into context what Camp is writing and how, and Rodriguez's art is amazing on this. This has that kind of like 70s mod psychedelic vibe to it. It works, but I know some fans have been very like one side or another for this. And I'm just going to stress this. What Camp is doing is rewriting what we know of John Jones. This is a fresh take that we have never seen before. And honestly, I think this is brilliant. This is one of my favorite superhero books out there right now.
Right.
So definitely keep that on the radars. And then last but not least, one that, listen, I think is well worth the hype it's been getting. This has been the culmination of 2 years of storytelling, and this is a definite game changer in the world of Superman. Superman 25. Joshua Williamson, who is up there as one of my favorite Superman writers of all time. Jamal Campbell, Dan Mora, and Eddie Barrows are on the art. Mm-hmm. This is a big issue. It is the 25th anniversary or 25th issue of the adjectiveless Superman story. This has been the payoff we've been waiting for from when Superman became the heir apparent to Supercorp. And what has been going on? Williamson swings for the fences and nails it out of the park.
Nice.
And I know it's already been making some rounds online about Lex Luthor has powers.
Right.
Without giving everything away, not everything is what you see, but this shatters everything that we have known for 25 issues. Because an event happens at the end, and things have now been turned upside down heading into the summer of Superman as it's being built. So this is all going to be a wild ride going to the James Gunn film with, obviously, Dan Slott's Superman book is coming out. Action Comics is rolling right now. And this story, which the last page changes a lot, but not so much as the one before it, in my opinion. Monster issue. Love this book. Definitely can speak about it. And if you're looking for more reviews, Nerd Initiative has got you covered there with 30, 40 reviews this week. I can't even remember. Wow. Like, we're up there. Like, it was a big week this week between video and written. So definitely go to the home of Pop Culture Positivity. Go check it out and let us know what you're reading in the social medias, because we definitely want to talk comics with everybody. And definitely go out and support your LCS wherever you're at. Going into Free Comic Book Day next week. Mm-hmm. That being said, we gave you an oversized edition of the ODPH, but then we just want to say thank you and for anything and everything it is the ODPH. You can find it at odphpodcast.com. For the one and only Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening, and we'll see you next time.